Ready, Freddie? Hi, everybody. Good morning, Fit Factor. Good morning, Fit Factor Online, Live Fully Academy. My name is Clarissa. We are going to be doing a Vinyasa flow. So bring your mat out to center floor. If you happen to have a block, it's always great to have a block or two around. If you are going to continue to do your practice at home, I would say invest in a block. You can get a couple, you can pick them up pretty much anywhere, but they are well worth the investment. Maybe a towel and something to drink. And then we're just going to start on our mat in a seated meditative posture. So wherever you feel comfortable, you don't have to be in a pretzel position. You can be, you can even sit on that block or sit on a couple of blankets or a couple towels or something like that, just to get your hips up a little higher if you needed to. Otherwise, just kind of wiggle around until you sort of find that sweet spot for you where you're able to relax your shoulders, loosen up your jaw, stack your shoulders over your ribs, over your hips. It might feel like you're about to tilt back, but it's actually where your shoulders are meant to be. And then just feel your ribs gently stitch in. See if we can get our chin parallel with the ground. Let's see if we can loosen up our jaw and soften the frown of our brow. Maybe the palms land with faced up. Maybe not yet. Maybe you still need to hold on. It's been a wild ride. You still got to hold on a little. That's all right. I get it. Wherever you land, once you're settled into stillness, go ahead and let your eyes gently close. Become the observer of your thoughts just for a moment. What is the internal loop that happens to be going around in your head right now without any judgment, as like you're the observer, a third party? Just observe those thoughts just for the next 30 seconds or so. And then as we start to quiet those thoughts down for the next bit of our practice, or the next hour or so of our physical yoga practice, see if you can just start to turn that down a little bit. And with like sort of a memory of what that internal loop was about, maybe that's how you can form your intention. If you already came to your mat with an intention this morning, then maybe go ahead and set that, make that a part of your practice. It's not just the physical postures that yoga offers. Maybe today you come just for the physical postures, and that's okay, no judgment. But some of us come to our mat for another reason, whatever your reason is, your why, your intention. Why are you here? Sort of solidify that for today's practice. And maybe even as you leave your mat this morning and go into your day, bring your focus, your attention, your awareness to your breathing. See if you can slow your inhale down just a little tiny bit more than a natural breath. And then just hold on to that breath for just a moment. And then double the time to exhale that you took to inhale. And then repeat that, but this time see if you can grow the breath just a hair more than the previous time. Just a tiny bit. It's not a competition. You're not trying to beat the last breath. You're just trying to grow and slow your breathing pattern down. A little hover at the top and then a gentle, longer exhale with a nice pause at the bottom. Just a moment to reflect. Just pause before you move on. And then go ahead and leave that breath behind. Move on to your next breath. Build it slowly, climbing all the way to the peak, hovering up at the peak for a moment or two if it feels right. Your brain will cue you. Your brain knows when it's enough and you need to exhale, and it'll tell you, okay, please exhale now. And then go ahead and exhale. Let's stay here for maybe another 3, 4, 5 breaths. Hands to the heart center. Finding a little release in the physical body where you would normally hold onto your tension or your stress, probably in your shoulders or your neck or your jaw, maybe your chest, frown, neck. Fingers, hips. If you feel like you need to open your mouth to release and exhale, do that. You can play, you can find what works best for you. Sometimes it feels good to act like you're trying to fog a window or fog the mirror and just really flush those lungs out. As your breath begins to get longer, you can make more powerful rounds like that. Maybe even a breath of fire, maybe even a double exhale. I'm going to take one more breath here like this, just solidifying my intention one more time. And then I'm going to start to wiggle my fingers and circle my wrists as my eyes slowly begin to peel open, several blinks before I wake all the way back up. And then I'm just going to bring my hands to prayer posture at the chest, interlace the fingers. If you can, press the palms to the front, like a forward press, front press. Try and extend those elbows and push the palms away from you. Don't let the shoulders start to travel up and swallow your neck up. Keep the shoulders down without tensing into it. Just naturally, gently drop the shoulders and see that you can make your neck as long as possible here. And then let's go ahead and take the palms of the hands overhead. Take a breath in. Flush those lungs out here. Do that again. Inhale out. Grow your neck. Drop your shoulders. Cinch your waist in and your ribs on the exhale. One more time. Inhale up. Release your hands and just circle the wrists out as your arms slowly drop. You should feel a lot of blood flow right now. That's healing. That's a good thing right there. Shake it out down at the bottom. Good. And then let's just come to a windshield wiper position. So I'm going to squeeze my knees together. I might even give them an extra squeeze. For some reason, this really helps my hip flexors. If I push in on my knees and then try and press into the palms of the hands and open up, it just kind of gives my hip flexors a little release. Maybe it's because I'm contracting the muscles around my hip flexors and providing a little space, let the blood flow in there. And then anyway, so I'm going to move back over to the side and then go ahead and just do a little windshield wiper to flush that out. This is you right here, everybody. So if you like to move through things slower, faster, maybe gradually one way or the other, you don't have to do what I do. Do what comes naturally to your body. Sometimes it feels good to hook that knee and just stay here a little bit. If I decide to hook and press that knee down. I'm also trying to pull this hip and this sitting bone back to the earth. And so I'm trying to create more length. If that's too much for you, just back off a little bit. That's okay. It's just a possible progression. If you're still moving side to side, back and forth, that's good too. All right. Let's go ahead and make our way onto our hands and our knees. I'm going to come into a tabletop position. I'm going to start with my feet today. So tucking the toes under, making sure each toe has its own spot. You know, I broke this toe. You guys remember that? I broke that toe. And what's funny is that this toe, or both of my pinky toes, always kind of naturally tucked under the one next to it. Well, now this one is like straight as a soldier in line. All right. I'm going to rock in and out a couple of times. And then when you're ready, you can keep on stretching those feet a little bit more if you need to. My feet have taken a beating recently, so every chance I get to show them a little tiny bit of love, I do. And then let's go move into the ankles here. You could do a wrist too. Go the opposite direction, maybe your other wrist. Maybe even punching down for a couple rounds of cat-cow before you come to a flat. I just know there's a lot of us out there that have very sensitive, cranky wrists. Okay, when you're ready, cat-cow time. Let's go back to our breath on this movement. This is a perfect design, this cat-cow flow, to get you back in touch with that Ujjayi breath that we started with at the top of the class. We want to always come back to that breathing pattern, and we will when we begin to flow. Definitely be on the inhale and exhale. This is a good check-in. And then also be thinking about how you can stretch your abdominal wall, how you can stretch your posterior. Layer in maybe some little wiggles and little wags and circles in the head and ribs and stuff like that. Make sure you're kind of getting all that playtime in right here. Just becoming aware of pretty much every single joint and ligament and tendon and vertebrae. All right. Let's go ahead and head into our first down dog of the day. So I'm going to tuck my toes under, set up my hands, spread my fingertips nice and wide. Be aware of this in here, you guys, how your hand is connecting into basically the earth. This is your energy source, the earth, right? So spread your fingers wide, press down the whole circumference of the hand, and then try to remember to never let this, unless it's designed that way, but not to let your palm lift off. I think sometimes when we work hard, we try to accommodate for that, but you'll be stronger and more secure with the palms down. And then tail to the sky, lift them up, keep your heels up nice and high in a really tall, high releve. And then notice where your tail is. Try and hold your tail in that spot as you begin to slowly lower your heels towards the mat. Tail stays high, heels resist slowly into the mat, into the earth, into that source. Take your time with it. When you reach your range of motion where there's nowhere left for you to go, just hover for a moment, pause for a moment. And then as your heels rise, take a breath in. Go back up to that releve. Inhale. Hover. Exhale. Lower the heels to the mat. If you want to move faster with your body and your breath, go ahead. Otherwise, let's get 5, 6, 7 of these in on your own. Inhale to rise, exhale. Lower those heels to the mat. Keep your arms strong. Don't let your arms go noodle. One more breath. Now do me a favor, just put your knees down for a second. Point your toes back, walk your hips into your heels, walk your hands back, and just sit into your heels for a second. Shake out your hands. You probably have a lot of blood flow right here too. If you want to shake out your elbows, if you want to take them overhead and shake them, if you want to actually stretch them a little bit. We're going right back to that down dog, but I just wanted you to take that moment of circulation for your arms. All right, let's head back to downward facing dog. Watch me just for a second. We're going to go back up to that releve and then swivel the heels, both heels to one side. Let's go, everyone. Lift way up high into that high releve and then swivel both heels over to one side of the mat. You can move again quickly or a little slower. Just whatever your body is asking for is fine. Make sure you're syncing up your breath though. Maybe one or two more. Relax your neck if you're feeling any tension in there. Lengthen, loosen it up, give it a little wiggle, a little shake. Your ears should be lined up approximately with the inside of your arm, your upper arm, your bicep. All right, back to our regular downward facing dog and just take 8 or 10 pedals here. Remember that connection of your hand into the mat. Spread the fingers, push down the whole circumference of the palm. All right, let's put our knees down again. One more time. Walk your hands forward just a little bit and drop your hips forward so that you come into a plank position with your knees down. And then tuck your toes under and lift your knees off just for a moment. And then put those knees right back down and give me a little, just a quick chaturanga push. Doesn't have to be all the way down, but just start to move those elbow joints. Lift your knees off again. Set up your core. Lift your belly up. Put your knees back down and just give me a quick pump. Knees up, knees down, quick pump. 4 more. Knees up, knees down, quick pump. How about the breath? 2 more. One more. This time, lift your knees off the ground and let's lower to the mat, chaturanga style, elbows close to the body. And then go ahead and touch down, point your toes back, push the tops of the feet into the mat, lift your kneecaps off the ground. Squeeze your butt, push the ground away and come up to your cobra. It still might be a low cobra. Whatever your morning cobra is today, you might even look all the way up. Let's go ahead and lower down. Pull the hips back. Knees can spread a little bit wider and then just walk back into your child pose. Let's take about 3 or 4 breaths here. I might kind of wiggle a little bit. I might walk over to one side or the other side. I might take a second before I settle all the way third eye down, but just take a few breaths here. We're going to start our flow. So last chance to get off the train. All right, everybody, let's go from a downward facing dog to the top of the mat. I'm just gonna walk my toes forward. I'm just sort of crawl my way to the top, nothing fancy. If you have your block, you can always do this first forward fold on your block, just as a little support. If you don't, you can use your shin bones. You can use your fingertips on the mat. If you need to bend your knees a little bit more, that's okay. Maybe some books, something like that. Some really tough Tupperware, something that's not gonna buckle under your weight. And then let's just hold this forward fold for a second. Maybe sway your hips from side to side. Maybe rock in and out, toes to heels. A couple nice big breaths. Maybe wag your tail. Maybe some neck circles, head circles. And then come back to that half forward fold where your belly is pulling up, your back is flat and possibly parallel with the ground. You're tilting into the balls of the feet, but keeping those heels connected. You're sending that tailbone up and reaching the crown and the tail away from each other. Take a nice big breath, and then slowly walk yourself down into a full forward fold. Release your head and give it a little nod. It's almost like you start the nod and then the nod just goes for itself. Keeps moving by itself until it comes slower. Give it a little wiggle. Make sure or try not to have any tension in your shoulders. If you want an elephant trunk sway, you want to wiggle around a little bit. Release. Nice big exhale before we roll to stand. On the bottom of the exhale, start to roll up one vertebra at a time. Let your head hang for as long as possible and take advantage of that stretch in your cervical spine right at the end before you make your way all the way up to true north, mountain pose, Tadasana. I'd like to take a second just to come back to your intention for a moment. So if you will, maybe your hands come to prayer posture at your third eye, maybe at your heart center, either way. Just go back to the intention that you set for this practice. All right, everybody, let's go ahead and start with a simple sun salutation. The arms are going to reach up and overhead for an inhale. And then think of this as a release. Exhale, whatever you need to get rid of. Come up halfway to that half forward fold. Remember all those cues: belly button, spine, tail, balls of the feet, and then fold back down and make your way into your high plank. Stay here for a moment and just strengthen your plank a little bit. So you get a little longer, get a little stronger, a little refinement in the actual posture. And then let's move through this vinyasa from high plank, chaturanga, cobra, and downward facing dog. Let's take 3 breaths here. Big exhales. Maybe more stretch in the calf. Take liberties that you need to. Try not to rush through the breath on this round. And then let's travel to the top of the mat. Rise, launch position, and go. Halfway up again. Bring your belly with you. Fold all the way down. Stretch out those hamstrings and release tension. Let's go back to our intention. Gather your intention again. And let's move through that sun salutation just a little bit faster. Inhale and exhale. Surya Namaskar. This is variation A. Back to plank position. Work your breath. Vinyasa. Cobra pose. And back to down dog. 3. Let's rise up to releve, come to launch position, and travel to the top of the mat. Walking, hopping, either way. Halfway up and then down to your forward fold. Uttanasana. Uttanasana. Reverse the swan. Gather intention, breath, and energy. Let's continue to flow. Inhale. Exhale. Keep moving. Inhale. Exhale. Bottom of this exhale, rise, bend, launch, top of the mat. Ardha Uttanasana, half forward fold. Uttanasana, release. Reverse the swan. Intention, breath, energy. One more time, everyone. Once you make your way to down dog, the next time, stay there a little bit longer. And let's take a hip opener on each leg and a lunge. So my right leg is going to float up. When I get to the top, I start to rotate my hips open and then bend my knee and then actively try and reach my toe towards my opposite shoulder. While you're at your shoulder, square the other shoulder back to the mat. Maybe come up to releve, way up high on the balls of the feet, and then press your heel back down. Go back to your toe, take it to the shoulder, square the other shoulder, come up to releve, breathe in, exhale, press back down. Now let's take a lunge here. Square your hips off, pull your knee to your chest, and make your way into a runner's lunge at the top of your mat. I'm going to put my back knee down and point my toes, and then just start by taking my gaze out front. I'm going to go ahead and utilize my block here, especially on this side. I have a really cranky hip flexor. So if ever I can support myself, I do. So just as a teachable moment, in the beginning of class, often I'll say, this is a great time for you to check in with your body and see what kind of injuries you have, or, you know, whether they're physical or emotional, and then set up your practice so that you support that. And this is kind of one of the things I mean by that. Think about like, okay, my hip flexor is cranky today, so every chance I get, I'm going to really use a little extra help in that area. And my block is my buddy, so. Okay. Speech over. Let's go ahead and slowly make our way back into a regular runner's lunge. and just take a little thoracic or a big thoracic twist if you want to. I'm going to go for trying to stack my shoulders on top of each other completely and then reaching that top arm up. I always try to find spaces where I can circle out my wrist and keep that flowing. Try and drop your hips down a little bit and then see if you can get that knee to stack on top of the ankle and track right over that second toe. And if you want to bind your top arm, that's also an option for my bendy, bindy people out there. When you're ready, let's make our way back to a high plank position. Release, lifting up the core. You can work a vinyasa here. These three moves are known as vinyasa. It's a connecting pattern, sequence of movements that connects one sequence to another. But just know if you ever get taxed, you can always skip that and meet us right here in down dog. Okay, let's go ahead and work the other side. I'm gonna go ahead and just start to let that leg float up. When it gets to the top, I rotate open and I bend my knee. Bring your focus to your toe and try and touch your toe to the other shoulder. And then square that opposite shoulder back to the mat. Let's come up to releve. Breathe in. As you exhale, push the heel to the ground. Keep the knee tilting up. Go back to your toe. Reach the shoulder. Squares the shoulder. Breathe into releve. Breathe out. Lower the heel down. Now square up and bring your knee to your chest. Let's make our way into a runner's lunge. So I'm going to put my back knee down. Now, this is really your lunge. So if you prefer a different lunge, or your body is just kind of telling you, let's go in this direction instead, that's okay. You can do that. It's your practice. You don't have to ask permission. All right, let's release back to a plank position. Lengthen your hip flexors intentionally in this plank right here. Bring your focus to your hip flexors and have them get nice and long. Lift your belly button up. Make a 6-pack, make an 8-pack, make a 12-pack in your abdominal wall. And then let's go back to downward facing dog and take a breath. Let's take a little travel to the top of the mat. Rise, bend, and launch yourself forward. Ardha Uttanasana. Uttanasana, forward fold. And actually, let's start with the chair pose right here. Sit your hips down and swing your arms overhead. Let's do that again. Actually, take a forward fold and then sit your hips down, swing your arms overhead, and do it again. Fingertips down, hips lift. Sit down into chair, swing your arms up, lift your belly, and swing back down again. Hips up. One more time, everyone. Sit down into chair and lift your arms. And then back into that forward fold. Reverse the swan this time. Breath, energy, and tension. And bring those hands to the heart center. Let's take 3 resting breaths. Fog the window. Inhale. All right, we're going to start our flow. Let's go ahead and start with the chair pose. And then we're going to be moving through this flow. We're just going to start from the top and build and add on until we're fully flowing at the end of the class. So it starts with the chair pose. Everybody breathe in and exhale. Bring your hands through prayer posture and take a forward fold. Come up halfway, breathe in. Exhale, travel back to plank position, maybe an up dog on this one, everyone. So halfway down to the tops of the feet, open that heart and pull back to your downward facing dog. Let's go hip opener right away. Right leg up and the hip peels open. And then we come to a runner's lunge. Touch the back knee down. Rise up and just swing those arms overhead. And then swing the hands right back down. Lift the hip up and back. Take a half split. Breathe for 3. 2. One more breath. Crawl to the top of the mat. Lunge position, plank position, option for vinyasa. And back to down dog. Let's lift that left leg up to the sky. Inhale, lift. Rotate open. Let's come to a runner's lunge. Touch that back knee down and swing the arms overhead. Inhale, lift. Exhale, swing the hands back down to the mat. Lift the hips up and back. Take a half split for 3, 2, and one more breath. And let's crawl to the top of the mat. Back to a plank position. Option for a vinyasa here. And back to downward dog for 3, and 2, and one more breath. And let's go ahead and travel, everyone. Top of the mat. Rise, bend, and launch. Come up halfway, get longer. Exhale, fold all the way down. Shake it out. Sit into your chair pose. Swing in. And rise all the way up. Hands to the heart center. Take a resting moment. And let's go again. Swing into your chair pose, everyone. Move through prayer posture into a forward fold. Halfway up. And back to your plank. Here's our vinyasa. Maybe a hopping chaturanga if you made your way into an up dog that time. And back to down dog. Right leg floats up. Hip opens. Let's take a releve. Lift up. Stay in releve and come through plank position. Kick that foot forward. Put the back knee down. Swing the arms overhead. You can point the toe back. This time make a full circle with your arms all the way around. And then go ahead and shift those hips up and back. Take your half split. Let's walk our hands forward. Pick the back toe up. Hop your back foot in just a little bit. And then straighten both legs for pyramid pose. You might need to use your shin and your block if you're maybe right around here. But if you can and you want to, you're ready, you could take that full progression or bigger range of motion, whatever that is for you today. One more breath. As you bend the knee, you hop the back foot back just a little bit. Step back to plank position, option for your vinyasa. Back to down dog, everybody. And then the left leg floats right up to the sky. Open up that hip. Everything should be happening on the breath. Releve. As you exhale, come through that high plank, kick that leg through, back knee down. Full arm circles this time, all the way around. When those hands touch down, we shift up and back and take that half split just for a breath. And then crawl forward to that lunge. Hop your back foot in just a little bit and take your pyramid pose. 3. So then this knee bends, you hop back a little, release to your plank position, work your vinyasa. And back to down dog. One more breath here. On the bottom of this exhale, rise up, bend and launch yourself. Try to float to the top of the mat. Halfway up, take your forward fold and then swing into your chair pose. And rise all the way up. Hands to the heart center. Take a resting breath or two. All right, let's sit back down into our chair pose again, everybody, adding on Uttanasana, or awkward pose. Hands through prayer posture and then into your forward fold. Halfway up, float to your plank position. Work your vinyasa. Let's go from dog to a 3-limb dog. Open up the hip, breathe in, come to releve. Move through releve, plank position, knee high, touch down. Back knee, point the toes and swing the arms up and around. Once they touch down, then shift those hips up and back. Take that half split for a moment. Crawl forward, runner's lunge to a pyramid pose. Hop your back foot in, straighten your front leg. And then come back to that runner's lunge. Okay, I'm gonna root my opposite hand from that front foot is gonna be down. The front foot is gonna release back to a side plank. Top arm goes right up to the sky, up to 12 o'clock. Maybe you stack or you split your feet or stack your feet, or bottom knee can touch down, or top leg can even float up. Lots of options here. Let's take it one more breath. Come back to your lunge. So you got to kick that leg through. Back to your lunge position. Awesome. And then we're going to rise all the way up to a crescent lunge. Let's shift that knee so it's stacked on top of your ankle. And then try and get that thigh parallel. Extend that back leg a little further. My palms are facing each other. See, when I start to work hard, my tension sometimes goes into my fingers, so I'm like this. But you can release that energy. It's not necessarily let the energy go through. All right, let's swan dive to the ground. Back to plank position. Work the vinyasa here, or you can always skip the vinyasa every now and again and catch it on the next time. That's okay too. Let's do side 2 right away here. Right leg, the left leg floats up. For me, side 2. Take that big hip opener, come to releve, and then move through a high plank. Bring that knee in close to the body before you kick it through to a lunge. Let's take that back knee down, point the toes back, full double circles with the arms. And then take your half split. Let's move forward to that runner's lunge again. Hop the back foot in and take your pyramid pose. All right, back to your lunge. Root the opposite hand down and then release that front foot back to a side plank. You can split or stack. Bottom knee can be down. Top leg can be up. Send the energy where it needs to be, not anywhere else. Let's come back to that runner's lunge. You got to swing that leg back up. Good. And then swing those arms overhead. And let's find our crescent lunge. Stacking and tracking, extending that back hip flexor, dropping the hips down, trying to get the thigh parallel with the ground maybe. the swan dive, back to plank position. Work the vinyasa or skip the vinyasa. Meet us in downward facing dog for 3. When you're ready, travel to the top of the mat, halfway up, and a full forward fold all the way down. Swing into your chair pose and rise all the way up. One more round, everyone, from top to bottom. We're on the breath, so it's going to move pretty fast. Here we go. It starts with the chair pose. Inhale. Bow. Exhale. Lift halfway up. Inhale. Back to plank position. Exhale. Work your vinyasa. Downward facing dog. Right leg floats up for a hip opener. Come to releve and lunge position. Back knee down. Swing the arms around. Breathe. Half split. Inhale. Runner's lunge to pyramid pose. Get ready for that side plank. From runner's lunge, release back to your side plank. Now come back to your runner's lunge and lift off for your crescent. Spin your back foot down, toe heel over, and find your warrior 2. Get a little longer, get a little lower. Refine that warrior. Find a little more length in that back leg. Seal the back edge of your foot. One more breath here. We're just going to take a little cartwheel and back down to the ground. So reverse back and cartwheel all the way to the mat. Work your vinyasa. And downward facing dog, everyone. Let's go side 2. Left leg floats up and open. Breathe in. Come to releve. Breathe out and come to a lunge position. Put your back knee down. Breathe in and swing those arms around. Exhale. Shift those hips up and back for a half split. Keep moving forward into a runner's lunge and then to a pyramid pose. Breathe. And then from your runner's lunge to a side plank. Inhale. Use your exhale to get that leg back up to the top. Runner's lunge. Good. And then rise up for that crescent lunge. Let's spin the back foot down. Move your toe and heel over one time and find your warrior 2 here, everybody. Those shoulders to stack. Really first external posture. We've been doing a lot of neutral stuff here, so we're turning out, getting a little longer, refining the posture. Keep breathing. One more. We take a little reverse cartwheel and then giant cartwheel to the mat for one final option for vinyasa. And back to down dog. 2 more breaths here in down dog. Tap those knees to the mat, point the toes back, walk your hands back and your hips, and just sit into your heels for a moment. Lift your chin so it's parallel with the ground. Close your eyes, drop your shoulders, go to your belly, and just recognize the inhales and the exhales. All right, everybody, peel your eyes open, wiggle your fingers, your hands. We're going to take one final minute in Shavasana. Find the best Shavasana for you. It's going to be 60 seconds of your life, but the best 60 seconds you ever had. If you want to utilize your block, I'm going to use mine under my head today. If you want to put it under your hips, under your sacrum, behind your shoulders, sometimes feels good. But I'm just going to take a 60-second restorative moment. So if you can extend your arms and legs, what you're trying to do is settle in so deeply that none of the muscles are working except for your heart muscle. Thankfully, we want that to continue to work for sure. But everything else gets to take a little break. Even your lungs are like barely moving. Close your eyes, soften your frown. If you feel like you need to just flush those lungs out a couple more times every now and again, don't be afraid to do that, but don't make it work. Let it be something that just happens naturally, but you're not forming it and shaping it. So everything is still on break. The only thing I want you to change is your next inhale. See if you can take a slightly bigger breath and then really enjoy the exhale. Stay still. The body is still still. Do it again. Big inhale and then really, really ride that exhale all the way out. Like you're surfing a wave. Ride it for as long as possible. Wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. Circle your wrists, circle your ankles. Bend your elbows. Bend your knees. Wiggle from side to side. Reach your arms overhead. Drag the knees all the way to the chest. Give those shins a hug and breathe out. Massage that low back. Eventually you'll roll all the way to one side. If you like to stay there for a couple of counts before you come up, that's fine. I like to use the momentum of the roll to help me the rest of the way up. So either way, but we'll all meet in a seated position eventually. If you'd like to stay in Shavasana a little bit longer, you don't need permission for that either. So absolutely stay there as long as you need to this morning. Maybe even take a moment or 10 or 15 or 20 to meditate. If you've made your way up into a final seated posture, let's bring our hands to our heart center just to close off the class. One last time, revisiting our intention for our physical practice and seeing how that can translate and morph into our daily walk in life, which is yoga practice off the mat. So just a moment to recognize that. Carry your breath with you today. Ride those exhales out like waves all day long. And thank you so much for your practice, everyone. Namaste.